Assalamualaikum and hello everybody. My name is Muhammad Adam Fahri bin Abdul Rahman and I will give the introduction for this presentation. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you.
And I'm Muhammad Uizul Hakif. I'm going to be presenting about neutrality and non-alignment.
Hi, my name is Aina Fagira binti Azlin and I will explain 3.0 Islamic Diplomacy Establishment.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Putri Nur Alia Maisara binti Hafiz and I will explain 5.0 Economy Policy, which is Bilateral Trade Agreement.
Hi, my name is Tania Patricia binti Ahmad Ismail and I will present to you guys about cultural diplomacy between nations.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone, my name is Rashidatu Panira and I will be present to you about 4.0 Humanitarian and Disaster Relief and the subtopic which is 4.1 Support for Palestinian Rights and 4.2
Without further ado, let's start the introduction. First of all, Muizul will explain about the relations of Malaysia's foreign policy with NAM, which means neutrality and non-aligned movement. Secondly, Aina Faghira will continue our presentation by explaining Islamic diplomacy establishment. Thirdly, yet importantly, Rashidatul Munira will explain about humanitarian and global justice in the policy. Next, Puteri Nur Alia will give a clarification on bilateral trade agreements for foreign policy in Malaysia. And lastly, Dania Batrisha will end the video by explaining cultural diplomacy between nations. But before that, let me explain about the three core values of Malaysia's foreign policy. First is promoting peace. For instance, former Prime Minister Tun Abdullah Ahmad Badawi had held a peace press conference regarding Palestine's conflict. Second is equality. As we know, everyone in Malaysia is equal and should be treated fairly, no matter their race, religion, or gender. Lastly, justice, which means everyone has the right to a fair trial and the law is applied equally to all, with an independent judiciary to protect these rights.
First and foremost, let's start off with the policy that are related to Malaysia foreign policy, neutrality and non-alignment. Malaysia is one of the countries in the world that is practicing neutrality as one of the core components of its foreign policy. To prove this, Malaysia has participated in non-aligned movement or NAM. NAM is an international organization that aims to give a voice to developing countries and to encourage their concert action in world affairs. So, why does Malaysia and many countries choose neutrality? Well, it's quite simple really. One of the easiest benefits that can be reaped is avoiding a needless conflict. You see, when you try to meddle or interfere in someone's household affairs, they will definitely won't like it. The same can be said when it comes to international relations, just with uglier outcome. Some of the outcome may lead to economic embargo, or even worse, an all-out war. So, by having a neutral stance, Malaysia can avoid all of these outcomes and even improve their relation with other nations. And thus, zone of peace, freedom and neutrality, or ZOPFAN, are created. ZOPFAN is a concept that created to establish a peaceful and neutral Southeast Asia, as well as maintaining the security in the region, free from any conflict between nations. You see, just because Malaysia is a neutral country, it does not mean Malaysia turn a blind eye to every single crime in this world. A perfect example that can be given is how Malaysia criticized Israel's atrocity over and over again. Another example that can be given is how Malaysia has been given aids for Ukraine in many forms, such as political support or humanitarian aid when it comes to Ukraine and Russian war. Theoretically speaking, Malaysia could become a mediator between these nations because of Malaysia's neutral stances.
Hello, my name is Rashidatul Munira and I will move to the next part which is 4.0 Humanitarian and Global Justice. So, what is humanitarian logistics? Based on the Journal of Business Logistics by Joachim Cambro, humanitarian logistics is carried out within the international humanitarian system and operates when local and national responses are not enough. The objective of this system aims to save life, reducing suffering, and maintain dignity and improve preparedness for future situations. The term humanitarian logistics was gained after a WHO workshop in 2021. Historical roots trace back to aid during First World War and events like the Russian famine in 1921 until 1922. We have known what is humanitarian logistics, so let me tell you what is global justice. In general, global justice is concerned with what people owe each other globally. It goes beyond domestic political philosophy, includes unique international moral challenges. Global justice recognizes the lack of a central cohesive authority globally, making it structurally different from domestic justice. Let's move to subtopic 4.1 Support for Palestinian Rights. Malaysia has played an important role in supporting justice for the Palestinian people and their country. So, what is Malaysia's role? Malaysia has actively championed human rights issues by providing full and strong support of Palestinian human rights and freedom that root in foreign policy. Notable involvement began in the 1969 International Islamic Conference that led to creation of the OIC, which is Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Malaysia has recognized the Palestine Liberation Organization (PLO) as the legitimate governing body of Palestine. Malaysia also maintains informal relations with Hamas through NGO. For example, Malaysia's then Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim having a recent meeting with Ismail Haniyeh, who is a Gaza leader. Malaysia stated that there will be no formal diplomatic or trade ties with Israel. There is also public support evident through protests and absence of formal communication with Israel. For example, there is massive demonstration that held in Kuala Lumpur in 2017. Let's move to the last subtopic, which is 4.2 Humanitarian and Disaster Relief. Syrian refugee crisis has been sparked by global outrage over a child's death in 2015. Therefore, Malaysia has invited Syrian refugees and officially welcomed them, unlike other prior cases like Bosnian refugees. The government has joined hands with NGOs and introduced a special program, namely the Syrian Migrant Temporary Settlement Program (PPSMS). MAHA, Malaysia Humanitarian Aid and Relief, as the NGOs, has collaborated with other government bodies like PDRM and Immigration. There is also an IMM13 card that is a resident permit card for Syrian refugees that granting work rights, access to subsidized healthcare, and enrollment in public schools. Refugees can have an option for PPSMS registration or UNHCR card recognition.
As for the Islamic diplomacy establishment in Malaysia, it represents a unique blend of religious identity, political pragmatism, and international engagement. As a multi-ethnic Muslim-majority country in Southeast Asia, Malaysia has carved out a distinctive space in Islamic diplomacy. One of the historical backgrounds of Islamic diplomacy is that Malaysia's approach to Islamic diplomacy has its roots in its post-independence foreign policy. In the early years following independence in 1957, Malaysia adopted a generally neutral and non-aligned foreign policy. Furthermore, Islamic elements were present but not central to its diplomatic agenda. The main concern during this era was nation building and managing the country's multi-religious and multi-ethnic society. The turning point came in the 1980s under the leadership of Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, his administration marked the beginning of a more pronounced Islamic orientation in foreign policy. Dr. Mahathir also emphasized the role of Islam in Malaysian identity and governance, leading to the Islamization of various sectors, including education, banking, and diplomacy. He also promoted the idea of Malaysia as a modern, moderate Islamic state and used this identity to enhance Malaysia's international image and influence, especially among Muslim nations. There are several institutions and structural developments in Islamic diplomacy in Malaysia that involve the creation and strengthening of various bodies and platforms that could project Malaysia's Islamic identity internationally, which is the first one is Institute of Diplomacy and Foreign Relations, IDFR. This institute has been established under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which function to train Malaysia's diplomats, integrating Islamic values and Southeast Asian diplomacy into its curriculum. The next second institute is also involved in the Department of Islamic Development Malaysia, JAKIM, which plays a significant role in halal certification and religious outreach, contributing to Malaysia's soft power in the Muslim world. They are responsible for translating Islamic principles into actionable foreign policy, coordinating between government departments and Islamic organizations, as well as ensuring that Islamic values are reflected in diplomatic practice. Now let's move to the core principles of Islamic diplomacy in Malaysia. As a country with a large Muslim majority, Malaysia also gives importance to the solidarity of the Ummah and the spirit of cooperation among the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, which is OIC. This is because it is one of the core principles of Malaysia's Islamic diplomacy, which is that Malaysia consistently supports issues affecting Muslims globally, such as the Palestinian cause, the plight of the Rohingya in Myanmar, and humanitarian crises in Muslim-majority countries. Furthermore, moderation, which is wasatiyah, is also involved in the core principles of Malaysia's Islamic diplomacy, which refers to Malaysia in promoting itself as a moderate Islamic country, advocating for peaceful coexistence, tolerance, and dialogue between civilizations. This can be achieved through various strategies, including the Malaysian Madani concept, which seek to build a civilized nation. Wasatiyah is applied across different aspects, such as religious freedom, wealth distribution, political power, language, and education to engender unity among the Malaysian people.
Next, I will explain about economic policy, which is bilateral trade agreement. But what is bilateral trade agreement? These agreements aim to reduce or eliminate trade barriers such as tariff, import quota, and export restriction, besides making it easier and cheaper for countries to do business with one another. Generally, bilateral trade agreements are pacts between two countries that outline the terms and conditions under which they trade goods and services with each other. For example, in 2005, Malaysia and Japan signed the Malaysia-Japan Economic Partnership Agreement, also known as MJEPA. For your information, Japan and Malaysia have already cultivated positive and friendly partnership as well as strong bilateral trade and investment linkage for a long time that contributed to the close relationship between the two countries. This resulted in increasing mutual understanding and trust greatly when they are solid and stable relationships. Hence, Japan has eliminated tariff on many Malaysian exports and is currently being pursued for free trade agreement, which is FTAs, to further enhance the competitiveness of countries in the region. Free trade agreement brings benefit to the customer where they need to pay only a lower price compared to usual and help contribute to business growth whereby companies can export more easily and invest in the partner country. They are disadvantaged when bilateral trade agreements are not agreed upon and not implemented well by both countries. This can be seen from the United States having a trade war with China in 2024. This is triggered when President Biden raised the tariff on Chinese electrical vehicles to 100% and increased the tariff on lithium-ion batteries to 25%. Meanwhile, the tax rates on solar cell and semiconductors increased to 50%. This tariff will mean to protect domestic industries at the cost of denying Americans access to cheaper Chinese technologies. But the economic consequences have been significant for the US when rising tariffs impact inflation and disrupt exports, particularly affecting consumers and industries reliant on Chinese goods. Opposite to China, even though exports have declined in China, strategic shift toward self-sufficiency and alternative markets have cushioned the impacts. This proves that China is smart and quickly responds to deal with problems effectively to survive in their economy.
Next, I will explain to you about cultural diplomacy between nations. Before explaining further about the cultural diplomacy, let me tell you about the history. In 1989, Joseph Nye defined cultural diplomacy with the terms of soft power to denote the power of attraction expressed through norms, values, services, and opportunities that appeal to others. Abstractly, cultural diplomacy is a set of activities undertaken directly or by collaboration with diplomatic authorities. This is aimed to promotion of foreign policy interests. As for the origins of modern cultural diplomacy, it was introduced into academic discourse by American researcher F. Barhon in 1930s. He defined it as manipulating cultural materials and personnel for propaganda purposes. Initially, the term carried an ideologized connotation reflecting the context of the era. Next is benefits of cultural diplomacy between nations. There is a few benefits offered in this subject, such as exchanging ideas and culture, building relationship, and even promoting shared value. International cultural relations refer to complex cross-border cultural interaction or cultural exchange among states or countries. This teaches us about other countries' culture, foster personal growth by encouraging independence, resilience, and increasing self-confidence. This can also counter any misinformation because they get a direct exposure to foreign societies. The closest example that I can show you guys is during the Malaysia and China Summit 2024. This summit is held to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the diplomatic relation, which focusing more on trade and investment. The summit, which took place from December 17 and 19, 2024 and was held in Kuala Lumpur. The main aim is to strengthen ties and boost economic cooperation between the two countries. And just recently, during the April 2025, President Xi Jinping visited Malaysia. He is meeting with His Majesty Sultan Ibrahim and Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. The main joint statement that was released by President Xi's visit, it is to outlining commitments to strengthening the strategic partnership, including deepening cooperation in trade, technology, and cultural exchange. Next is Asian Organization. ASEAN, or also known as the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, was established on 8 August 1967. The main objective of this organization is to effectively promote cooperation in political, economic, social, and cultural areas. This can also establishing exercise and research facilities that focus on shared interests. There is 5 countries that founded this association. These include Indonesia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Malaysia.